Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regulate, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
What's going on, Steve?
A little early for us today.
Super early.
We had the foul up. I think it was the weather the other night where it didn't upload. I started uploading that at 2 in the afternoon? Somewhere around there when we finished the show?
Might have been,
2 or...
It might have been sooner than that. So
I thought it was because YouTube picked up something that you had said on there.
Wednesday when we did our show,
You had said, not me.
Steve said it, not me. So when we did our show on Wednesday, it was weird because, of course, I have so much to do, and of course, when you're in a hurry, things- Tuesday. Yeah, today's.
We didn't do it. We were going to do it last night.
Oh, that's right, Tuesday. Oh, okay, makes sense now. I'm so confused. But anyways, when we did our last show, it was weird because it wrote slower, and I've only had to happen like one other time since we got this computer, and what the hell? I'm like, I got stuff to do, and do. You're over there passed out on the couch, and do.
Yeah, take a nap anywhere, anytime.
So that apparently set the whole day up because then you took the thing into the house. I text you.
And
up.
I was well rested when I started it, so I didn't mess anything up.
No, I text you at, 5? How's it going? It's still uploading, all right. Then I was like, 9:30 at night, it finally uploaded. And I was like, well, just cancel it and start again because this is like crazy. This is like 6 hours, no, 7 hours, something like that.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Long time. And
it was weird because it said it had uploaded, but it said it was waiting to do its checks. So that's why I thought either that embedded video or something like tied it up.
Something. But anyways, it got up.
Could have been the weather, though, because it was raining.
I really think it was the weather, yeah. So then it didn't get up until 9:30 or so at night. I'm like, well, then if we go do one in the morning, then no one really will probably watch that one.
You got to space it out. You got to take us in.
There's too much effort into this show to.
Well, hey, now we get most of the. We can talk about any election results for.
We can.
New Hampshire.
So, yeah. So that's why we're doing the show Thursday morning at 7:30 in the morning. It's supposed to be 6:30, but I didn't sleep great last night, and I didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah, I woke up at 6:30, got out of bed. About when you texted me, you're like, I'm up, I'm just not there yet. I was like, yeah, I'm up too, but
oh yeah,
still needed a shower.
Is that what that smell is? No, I'm just kidding.
I may not have brushed my teeth because I started drinking coffee. I don't like the mix.
You do that too?
So like when I finish this, I'll brush my teeth, but
I'm weird like that in the morning. Like if it's like come down for breakfast and I haven't brushed my teeth yet, I'm like, oh, that thing's gonna taste weird, like orange juice or anything. That would be horrible. And she's like, no, it's not true. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's so true. Like,
and I use like tooth powder. Because it's part of my whole reject everything that big business throws at you. So I have.
I don't even know what this stuff is.
Like a wooden straw toothbrush.
Freaking George Washington
I
even brushing
am.
his teeth.
I don't. I use less chemicals allegedly. It's not really tooth powder, but they do sell that.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that.
It dries my mouth out because it doesn't have.
Well, it's probably like baking soda or something straight.
Yeah, but at least I'm not
Flour.
getting the. See, I don't even remember the chemical that.
Fluoride?
Fluoride.
They say you need fluoride.
Yeah, I
Like
don't know.
kids.
Like you can read a different story any given day about fluoride, about aluminum, and that's why I don't wear antiperspirant anymore. It's deodorant, so by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm pretty much rank. Unless I take another shower.
I've used the same deodorant for years. Probably kill me eventually, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Who knows
I
this
hear you,
stuff
though.
anymore?
I
You know
hear
what I
you.
mean? It's like
they sued Johnson & Johnson for their baby powder. Like,
that all of us use for
Yeah.
our whole lives. But,
they still make it. I don't know if they took the whatever out of it, but I don't know. Like,
but trust. All these businesses are looking out for you.
they are very much. Go get your 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th booster, whatever.
Did you read that article I sent you this morning?
No, I didn't get a chance. Time I opened it, I was telling you I was late.
I didn't bring my phone with me, so I don't even. It was from the New York Post. I thought you would found it interesting. And I found it interesting. I mean, granted, it's an editorial in the New York Post, but it was published by.
Facebook spied on private messages of Americans who questioned the 2020 election. Would that surprise you, considering the fact that they
Well, no.
admitted the FBI?
But so, like, if you read her analysis of it, this is on the New York Post, like .com, obviously. So Facebook. So I was like, I don't have Facebook because my buddy, when I was in the military, that was military intel, told me, without a doubt, get rid of Facebook. So when somebody gives you advice like that, in like a very serious tone, and looks at you in the eye, the look that I got, I was like, fair enough. So anyway, you email somebody and you're like, can you believe the election? And this is mostly about the election. So if you question the election, if you even said like what we say on here, with the whole, I've lived in 6 different places at least that I can think of where there was always a trunk full of ballots found the next morning. Then what they do, allegedly, is send your name to the FBI, because you remember they were trying to pump up you're a terrorist if you question the government or anything else, right? So they're trying to enlarge their numbers so that they can say that they have a case of a bunch of anti-American terrorists within our own country, because you questioned the fact that Biden got 81 million votes. Anyway, so they send this unsolicited to the FBI. Then the FBI goes and gets a warrant, basically. Then they provide with all your email messages. And according to the whistleblowers from the FBI or DOJ, I'd have to go back and reread the article, but DOJ, that most of the people that they looked at, that they ended up reading the entire email chain or Facebook Messenger chain, was basically just like, man, this is BS. I don't think he really, like, there was no, anger, revolting, threats of violence. It was just people, using their First Amendment right to bitch and say whatever they wanted to say about the election. So the interesting thing is, allegedly Facebook would send it without a warrant. So they would say, Tim Beard sent out these messages. Then the FBI would go and say, we want to investigate this Tim Beard. So they would redact some of your message, too. So the whole message wouldn't be there. It would just be like the part that said you question the legitimacy of the election. And then the FBI would request a subpoena. And they would subpoena all your Facebook records.
Through their
You see how it works?
Yes.
But,
Yes.
Facebook says, tattletale, look at this guy. So they're not protecting your data. They're diming you out. And then the FBI then uses that data to subpoena all of your data. And then they go through all of your messages. Trying to find if you're a criminal or not, because they didn't like what you said. Now, this is all alleged in the New York Post. So it's not, conspiracy.com. This is somewhat legitimate, however you want to look at the New York Post, but it's mainstream.
So the American Gestapo, aka FBI, can kiss my white American ass.
You've just been flagged again.
I'm Steve Morris, and I approve this message.
No, but that's not anything that I ever thought when I joined the military. That's what it meant to be an American, was to have your private correspondence spied on by corporations working in conjunction with the state. Like, I don't know how much more obvious it needs to be, but like, she's not publishing this if she doesn't have.
Right.
Granted, it's underneath the op-ed, but still.
To just protect her from getting, murdered by the FBI.
Well, investigated.
Yeah. Well, did you see they stole Mike Lindells' phone? They tracked him to a Hardee's and took his phone from him. Apparently needed it. It was interesting. I heard him on he was on Howie Carr's show yesterday, and it was funny because he's like, no, they weren't. I'm waiting for the, crooked FBI agents with the guns and all that. He's like, no, they didn't have guns, nothing. They're just, he's like, they're actually pretty cool. They're like nice to him and stuff. They weren't Washington ones. So some are from Colorado, which I think is where he was alleging the election fraud stuff, which I think he could prove so much of it anyways. And, but he's obviously a Trump supporter. They've been after him since saying election fraud. So, 3 agents, and they've like surrounded him at a drive-thru at Hardee's, and took his phone. Supposedly had they did, I guess, have a warrant for it and all this. So, and part of it was not to tell anybody. He laughed. He's like, yeah, I won't tell anybody. Calling up every news network you can find.
When I was in the military, I got counseled by an officer, like my boss directly. And then the last thing that she told me as I was leaving the counseling session that didn't go probably the way that she thought it was, or me for that matter, she told me not to tell my first sergeant. And I was like, what? Because she was the commander. I was the XO. And then the first sergeant works directly for the commander, but he and I had a better relationship maybe. So anyway, I think I asked a lawyer, like one of the JAG guys in the hallway, and I don't think that's a legal order. Like, you can. So as soon as I got home, I called up First Sergeant. I was like, can you believe she counseled me on this?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Hey, I sought legal advice because I was like, I don't think this is legal, but I was a young lieutenant. I wanted to make sure that, because it just didn't sound like a legal order to me. Like, you can tell me not to talk to somebody about something that involves them, by the way, like,
or an operation,
because he was mentioned in the counseling, and so that was the other reason why I was like, well, don't I have a right to ask him? Like, because this doesn't sound like the conversation he and I had. I think you've misunderstood it. Anyway, it was interesting. She wrote a double negative, so I wouldn't sign it. I was like, I can't sign it. I was like, according to everything you just said, I didn't do anything wrong according to the way this is written. She said, what do you mean? I was like, well, you put a double negative right here where you're trying to say that I failed to do something. She turned bright red, looked at me like, you little jackwagon. But anyway, I digress.
Shit.
That was in the 90s, the Wild West, compared to now. I don't know what we got.
Nothing compared to now. Now it's, wow.
Did you see that, by the way? Which, shame on you, politicians. Telling the army telling soldiers to go out and get on food stamps. Or you didn't see that?
No.
So, with inflation and everything costing,
Yeah.
I have like half as much money as I thought I was going to have now
Right.
on a monthly basis to buy food and gas. So the Army came out and said, you need to look into getting on food stamps, soldiers. So we asked these young men and women to, move around, serve, sign up for 4 years, or 2 to 4 years plus, total of 8 years.
Risk your
You
damn
got to commit.
life.
And we can't make sure that they have enough money to get groceries. Yeah, our Army's so well trained that we're on food stamps. We is that ridiculous? Like, it bothers me a lot. Like, I know I'm kind of in a joking tone this morning. I think just because it's early and I'm drinking coffee, actually, because Nikki's home today, so there's coffee made. But it really bothers me.
It bothers me. I'm just trying to hold back from going on a rant.
This is the Army leadership that said that, but, they're getting their cues from the government, politicians. It's just sad.
Well, did you see that other lady that the FBI came to her house because they're trying to, someone allegedly, anonymously said she was a January 6th, and she wasn't. Of course, she had to prove that she wasn't, but she was on Tucker Carlson, I guess. So apparently that's just...
So what, so now if you're in Washington, D.C., so what if you went and saw President Trump speak,
you're at,
but you didn't walk down to the Capitol?
Yeah,
You're still a political
prisoner.
outsider? And
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct. Yep.
And this sounds like America. I know most of our listeners are like, no, this doesn't sound like America, or listeners and watchers.
No, this sounds like the Soviet Union.
It sounds like
North
you don't
Korea.
really have free will, individual liberties, as provided in the Constitution and our amendments that have been put forth and signed into law.
Yeah, that's why in November you want to flood the voting booths and vote red, even though in our state I think will be pretty good because we got 3 new candidates running against so Don Bolduc won.
Well, I'll have to look at it. Like I truly am I want somebody that's an outsider, that's not beholden. Now, granted, if you have a R next to your name, or a D, you're beholden to that party somewhat.
Nah,
but there are
not
certain
ours.
questions.
Not these ones in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, because the Republicans didn't want Bulldog.
They didn't want Bolduc.
Levitt.
They spent $5 million against Levitt, and she still won. And she's 25. She gets elected. She'll be the youngest one ever. And she's no AOC. She actually has a brain. She's Granite State born. She's born here, raised here. Went to I think it was St. Anselm's.
See, that's solid right there. Because
she is.
I pronounced his name Mowers the other day because I'm from Texas and we're very literal. But Mowers, I heard somebody pronounce it.
Mowers, whatever.
He's the one that voted twice in 2020 and admitted to it.
But it's okay. It's all good. Burns, I don't know. I've heard plus and minus, but I think he's still another Trump. I don't know if he's a back candidate, but Trump wasn't pleased with the people, which typically, if he's pleased with them, they're not establishment people.
Oh.
So don't not vote for them because, Trump likes them. Well, Trump likes them because they're not establishment people. So they'll go to Washington and, America First is their...
I wish I would have kept that book from college because there's, I remember it, and it was real thin. It was blue, but it was basically a third-party candidate would totally throw our system into upheaval, kind of like how it is right now. Like the whole facade of what our government is will be imploded.
Well, someone said the other day, which would make...
And this was in 1995 or 6 that I read this.
So the swamp that we talk about, right? Which is funny because they tried to actually say that Levitt was a swamp creature. She's 25 years old, never been in politics.
Never? I thought she worked with Trump in some...
Well, yes, never been
capacity.
a politician.
All right.
She worked under his press secretary. And then some of the people that voted for her had said, I was listening to a bunch of stuff, and they had said that we didn't even know who she was until we saw all these negative ads against her. Then we looked into her and realized, wait, this is the one we want. Because literally the Republican Party was backing the other guy and running negative ads against Levitt.
Well, it's like the Democrats are supporting certain Republicans.
Yes. And they literally said last night, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, they don't want, they're almost sabotaging the election because the reality is they don't want to be in charge because when they're in charge, they're expected to do something. So if they're not doing anything like they are now, they can just blame the other party. It's not our fault. It's their fault. No.
Well, once you see how it operates, it's easy to see. And so it probably flip-flops depending on who's in charge. But Lindsey Graham's going to write some angry letters. He's going to investigate, and he's going to hold committee meetings. And we all know nothing comes out of these committee meetings. We were watching Rand Paul earlier grilling Fauci for the umpteenth time. And unless you're watching and studying Fauci's body language and the way he's answering, like if you just listen or you read typed words that he said, then you can think, oh, Fauci owned him or whatever. But Fauci looked a little concerned there, the way that the questions are starting to
We've watched
ramp up.
several of them because they're comical and they're fun.
Well, he went from like cocky, confident, sitting back with his little thing
like
to
F you, Senator, almost, to now it was kind of like
you're not a real doctor. I
right.
think he said
Yes.
one time,
yes.
along those lines.
And then now, let me kiss your ass. I'm so sorry because if you guys retake in November, I'm effed in January, even though I'm retiring. But
so you got to pay attention. So I don't know if you're going to plan on playing that, but Rand Paul had said, if we take over, we're going to investigate who all is getting funded and where the conflicts of interest are, and that's what everybody should be concerned about. Is if you look it up, the CDC and what was the other one he was trying to blame?
FDA.
The FDA.
I don't know about the FDA, but the CDC is completely funded by Pfizer, is like their biggest one. Gates. I mean,
but it'll be interesting, and then maybe people will start to understand the fear factor, because it's been 3 years now. So is there really still an emergency?
no.
Because based off of what Rand Paul said on that clip, was that it's basically settled into like flu-like status.
Yeah. But they're still trying to push vaccines on your kids. So actually, someone sent me invited me to a page on Facebook that was basically all of people. It was a forum, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, about people that had bad reactions or died from the vaccine, allegedly. But there's so many on there. I sent you like 2 last night, but we almost should do that every day. We should go on there. We'll just do one a day, and you can't deny them all. You can't also, oh, they're lies. It's not true. It's like, yes, everybody in the world's out there to lie against you about what happened to their life.
You watch one of the, because even watching YouTube videos, you'll still get some, medicine advertisements or whatever.
Right.
The majority of it are the side effects.
Yes. That's why.
So if you think about it, right? So they say on a lot of them, death, heart, all kinds of bad reactions. So if you think about it, this grand scale that they tried to push, or that they're pushing these vaccines on, is way larger than the population that this pill is probably trying to get, right? So you still have bad reactions to stuff that's approved. So how can we, and I think that's what also Rand Paul was getting to, is you say this out of your mouth, but we can see this, and we know from history and facts and what we learned 20 years ago, like we don't have false memories of what it means to be immunized, right? So they changed the definition like 7 times allegedly over the last few years.
But old Fauci pulls out a fucking piece of paper that says, that was fact checked, and this was actually wrong.
He was, but then, Rand Paul did the right thing and said, you can fact check it all you want. He's like, I'll put your words up on the screen. This is literally what you said, or this is exactly what you said.
So he knew it was coming.
Yeah, because he had it up on the screen, pause. As soon as Fauci did that fact check maneuver on him, he said, well, these are your actual words.
Yeah.
That getting sick provides you with a more robust protection.
Yeah.
And he was trying to say it was taken out of context, and he was like, but isn't that true, or have we rewritten how immunology works? And that's where I got him, was basically, so you're saying it was this way up until 2 years ago, and now it no longer works that way?
So think about it. Just since we started, since July 22nd on here, and these are just ones that came up that literally I didn't search for these, because if I search, I could have lots.
No, you can find a list. Somebody actually has a list of all random, young athletes that just drop dead.
8 athletes on here.
Yeah, that's on you not really paying attention to it. But there's a list with a lot more than 8.
Mm-hmm. So
a lot of them happened in Europe on the soccer fields.
Teams, or
football fields.
Yeah,
if you're a European.
At this point, we know enough about COVID that why would you, unless you had a
I don't think most people panic anymore. There's some people that
there's some
have addicted to the fear of you know what I mean?
Makes them feel like.
I don't know if do you remember the Washington D.C. shooter?
Yes.
That's whenever I realized that there was a problem in my household with the media, because I come home from work and we'd have it on. Some days I lived close enough where I could come home for lunch, and we'd have it on waiting to see. And, think of all the advertisements we watched, all the stuff we were being fed that we weren't even really paying attention to. And I've been aware of this kind of stuff since I was young, but we all fall victim and fall into the trap. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens to all. You could know that they're feeding you a line probably, and yet, you know, what's the consequences if you're not paying attention, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
you don't want to believe everything because, you know, this is a guy who studied journalism and how to, you know, soothe you with his voice as he's reading a teleprompter, of which he probably knows very little about. Now, he may know something about certain subjects, but for the most part, he doesn't know everything about anything.
Well, that's why you don't see any actual vaccine commercials for COVID, because by law, to have an ad for a medicine, you have to list the side effects. That's why when you watch, you know, think about you're watching TV, regular TV, okay, not streaming something because that's different, but you're watching your regular TV. Think of how many ads are in there for prescription drugs. Huge amount. It's like every other ad is about it. But by law, they have to list side effects. And they do. They say it quick because there's usually a list of them.
The Micro Machines guy.
Yeah, so but you don't see any commercials for Pfizer's vaccine for COVID because by law, they'd have to say the side effects. And they don't obviously want to say the side effects because the side effect list would be more than you could ever get through in 30 seconds.
Well, wasn't it released in one of those first few 10,000 pages of dumps that it was a long
It was like 3,000 something.
list of possible side effects?
Yeah.
I mean, and
The side effects thing.
there's side effects for
However,
anything that we take.
Right.
You know, there's a risk involved, and I think it goes to the thing of just be honest and truthful with me. When
Well,
you
then they
start
wouldn't make no
changing
money.
things, well, but that's not necessarily true. You know what I mean? Like, if you could take a measured response and know exactly what it is that you're putting into your body, that someone could explain to you, this is what it is. And I think that's what everybody should do from now on, is like ask their doctor, hey, talk to me about this vaccine that you think I need at, you know, whatever age, or for my children or whatever. Talk to me about it. What are the ingredients? What are some possible side effects?
They're going to be like, I don't know.
It's on those standards, so you just have to do it.
Just read the book that we give you with the medicine.
I was always taught just because, when someone says just because, that means that they don't really know what they're talking about, and you probably should not do it. You know what I mean? Now, some doctors may be able to explain to you everything, but I'm to the point now to where I don't give up authority to anyone just because they have a degree.
No, when you consider where they get the degrees from.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. It's where's the money coming from? Who's funding these people?
Follow the money. Anything you do.
All these think
Follow the money.
tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, their job is to persuade you into something, one way or the other. Now, some of it, like local news, you know, reporting on traffic accidents and all that, that's news, I guess.
Yeah.
But you don't have a lot of positivity in the news.
Never.
It's always the last little, like on Anchorman, where the little funny squirrel, and then, you know, makes everything good. All of San Diego's happy because Ron Burgundy showed the squirrel on the skis.
Yeah.
So did we just make sense about anything?
We did, but, you know. So, you took tomatoes yesterday and you 18 quarts. I have a picture I'll put up. And so you made some sauce. And I moved dirt all day.
Well, it's also still cooking down, so
Still cooking down?
yeah, Nikki removed some more water from it at 6. She's been up since 5:30 because that's normally what time she gets up. So the new puppy is kind of trained to get up at 5:30.
What time does she go to bed?
Usually like at 9,
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Like
How do you do it? How do you not sleep?
I don't know what it is. I just don't like. I don't know. I feel like I'm wasting time by sleeping sometimes. Is that weird?
Well, no. I mean, I agree. But
Like I just sit there and I just read and follow rabbit holes because, you know, there's so much garbage out there, and truth mixed in with lies and lies mixed in with truth. And I don't know. It's almost like a game to try to find where the truth lies. It's like Easter egg hunting. I love to hunt Easter eggs.
It's almost like if you really think about it, what the media has accomplished in the last 6 years, anyways, or I'm sure more, but they've got it to the point where people, it's just any person almost doesn't believe anything they hear anymore. So that when you do come forward with the truth about any of these people,
Well, that's what
they don't even believe it because they're like, I can't believe anything anymore.
Well, then you start becoming a nihilist, and you don't want to be a nihilist.
No, like
They're nihilists, Donnie.
so just like
You know if that's from
no,
Big Lebowski?
I've ever seen that.
What? Oh, man. If you didn't have work today, when we finish the show up, it's too beautiful to sit inside and watch a movie, but we need to watch that movie.
It's a little chilly out this morning, though, isn't it?
It is. I need my
See
long
this?
sleeve shirt on.
Sleeves. I even looked in the truck. I'm like, my long sleeve shirt in here because it's a little chilly. I told the engineer, I was like, well, I gotta take my black truck today because Corey needs a 1-ton and I need diesel. So I'm like, see what happens. It goes or blows. And it's, whatever. I'm supposed to get my white truck back at some point today. I'm hoping because I really need to have my truck back. Yeah. Anyways.
You need a ride somewhere?
No, I just need diesel for the excavator. Oh, yeah, so I was running the excavators today, and this is the one I rented, and I'm putting dirt in the back of the dump truck, and the freaking bucket comes off. I'm like, what the,
How'd that happen?
well, it took me a long time to figure out what the hell is going on, because this excavator, unlike my small excavator, has a quick connect bucket. So you push some buttons in the cab, and it'll come off. You can grab another attachment, and which is cool, right? So I'm doing it. I'm like, what the hell? Nothing is moving. It's not. I text the guy I rent from. He's like, oh, I've never heard of that before. And then I'm like, huh, interesting. So I look stuff up online, like all the whole thing. And there's even like a safety thing on it so it doesn't completely come off. And okay, so I went and dumped the dirt. I went back and looked at it again. I was like, wait, I wonder what. For the whole time I've had it, there's been a wrench hooked to the seat, and there's a little sticker that says if you lose the wrench, it's $50. If you lose the key, it's $20. And I'm like, the hell is this wrench for? I've rented machines before. I don't need a freaking wrench. I figured out what the wrench is, because for some reason that machine doesn't have the hydraulic part to take the bucket on and off. It's in the system, but it's not on the machine. The wrench is to tighten the bolt down, or this like bolt that pushes this wedge down that normally would be hydraulic to hold the bucket on. So over time it must have loosened up, which, okay, now I know that, but if you freaking idiots had told me this to start with, I would have been like, oh, okay, that loosens up occasionally. So maybe every day, like when you grease it or whatever, just, tighten it, whatever.
Should be part of the checklist.
Like,
so you were able to get it back on? I thought you were going to say you couldn't maneuver it out of the dump truck or whatever.
no, I was able to get back on, luckily. But I was kind of irritated because it took like an hour away from my day messing with it. And, come on, it's something that happens so often. You put a freaking wrench in there, then weld the damn thing so you can't take the bucket off or something. Like, if you're going to rent it, and this is a big company, there's no excuse. Or put the freaking hydraulic thing on it so that it actually runs like it's supposed to. You put a wrench hooked to the seat.
Well, you'd think that there would be a sign that says every day when you're doing your
Grease it.
pre-usage checks
yeah.
or whatever. Grease, tighten up this bolt.
So I messaged the guy back. Said, well, I'll have to check with the tech in the morning. It's only like 5 o'clock. I'm like, morning? I got freaking dirt to move, dude. Like, luckily I figured it out myself, though. But what the hell? At least explain why. And I'm sure the guy that I rented it from, he's like the sales guy, kind of PR. I don't know what his actual title is, but he's the guy I rent from. But the company brings the machine, whatever. But I'm sure he didn't know.
Yeah.
But I was like, and I wondered the whole time I got this machine, why is there a wrench in here? They don't come with wrenches. It's just not. That's why. So if the bucket falls off on you.
Because it doesn't actually have the quick connect. So what if you had other things that you wanted to use, and you're like, oh, well, mine's down. I'm going to rent this because it's a quick connect, and then it doesn't actually quick connect. I don't kind of want my money back.
Oh yeah, you'd be pissed if you're in this machine.
But you know what I'm saying? Like yours broke down. You got a big job, so you're going to rent this while yours is in the shop.
Because you're going to use another attachment or something for it.
Like you got to do a couple different things with it, like you are prone to do when you're using an excavator.
Yeah. I don't know why they would have taken it off. It had to have come with it. Every one of these machines has to come with it. All these new machines do now. It's all like changing the control pattern. I run backhoe controls. My brother runs excavator controls. It's just they're the opposite. I learned that way. Going and trying to relearn is as pain in the ass as possible, but I don't want to. So I'm like, usually there's a valve. So on my machine, my small mini, just under the seat, you just turn the valve and boom, piece of cake. All machines same way, right?
What'd you teach me
Probably the ones my controls were.
You didn't want to change it for me.
But this one you have to go, and I'm trying to figure out, I open all the doors in the machine, I'm looking around, I'm like, what the fuck is that thing? Yeah, it's in the controls. So literally you go into the computer, and the computer does it automatically, which is awesome. Except I didn't know that. I'm looking for because even my old machine, which wasn't really that old, it was like a 16-ish, maybe, big machine. That had a switch, you turned it. So that's just what I expected. But that was easy. I mean, that I could figure out. That's okay. But what is the wrench for? Well, now I know. Maybe I should make my own little sticky note leave in there. Next person who rents says, if the bucket falls off, that's what the wrench is for.
Do it. I would.
Jeez. All right. A couple things. New Hampshire tackles hunger at 2 o'clock, the next home game for the Newport football team versus Newfound on next Saturday. So not this Saturday because they're away, but next Saturday they have a home game. So if you're attending the game, which you should attend because you should support these kids out there playing football, cheering, the whole bit. Items needed, and any item is needed, I'm sure, but these are highlighted. Peanut butter, jelly, tuna, soups, pasta, sauce, canned fruits and vegetables. No glass, please. So the typical stuff that you would usually bring to a food pantry kind of thing. Yeah, peanut butter and jelly. Man, that's like saying you don't have money, so you have to go to the soup kitchen or whatever, and here's peanut butter and jelly. Come on.
Well, hey, man.
No, it lasts. It makes a lot of sandwiches, so
yeah.
I get it. I'm just, I get it.
I mean, it's sad that we live in a state where we have to help out it's not sad that we have to help out because obviously we're all about trying to help people out, but all this billions of dollars going to support Ukraine.
Or anywhere else they send it to that we don't know about.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm just saying that's one example.
If we were sending billions of dollars to Ukraine to help feed them or something because of the war, I would be more comfortable with that. I mean, not to the extent that we sent.
But like your friend had said, it's there's not really a change in life out here where she was.
Not on the western side at all.
And then you see pictures of them having parties in Kiev and everything else. It's kind of like, when you see the politicians not wearing a mask 2 years ago, then you don't need to wear a mask. It's not that important.
Right. Obviously, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just common sense, but people will wave away things. People don't want to question.
It's funny, too, because I used to know someone that worked at the Newport Food Pantry, and they're always obviously welcoming any sort of donation you're going to make. But he'd already say, do not go to Shaw's or whatever, buy food and bring it to the food pantry. Because if you were going to spend $10 or $20 or whatever at that store for the pantry, if you bring that, say $20 to the pantry, he's like, I can get 10 times the food. Because for $5, I can get 4 boxes of Cheerios that cost you $5 at the store for $1. So I always thought that was interesting. So that's how cheap the food really could be, in theory, right? Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, on this next Saturday, any of those items, if you have them, or you're going through the cupboard, as we all have food in our cupboard, right? And you're like, I'm the worst person to say, yeah, there's no food in the house, which there's always food in the house. It's just not what I necessarily want, Andrea would say. But if you're gonna, peek through your cupboard, see if you got anything, maybe you got some stuff there that's like, yeah, this is kind of expiring soon or whatever, like pass it off, because this would get sent to a place where it would be very useful for somebody. So the New Hampshire Food Bank is what helps provide for the local ones too. So it's a bigger, it's like the big super center and then the small little branched out pieces. So, so I think it's something that it's a WMER, New Hampshire Tackles Hunger. So obviously it's a football based thing. It's brought to you by the Food Bank, Dead River Company, and the NHIAA, which is the sports association. So my guess is that on this day, the 24th, all across the state, they'll be doing this for the food pantry. So, for the food bank. So yeah, go through your cupboards and find some things, bring it to the game. It would be really appreciated. I'm sure this year more than any year in the past, there's going to be people out there that are in much more need.
Especially as winter comes, because...
Yeah. Are you going to eat, or are you going to freeze to death in your house? Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's okay. We're going to take your guns, but we're going to send them to Ukraine, because those people need to defend themselves. Yeah. Good times. I've mentioned this before. I'm going to mention it a few more times. Sip and Paint from Mike and Leslie Sampson. Mike had a stroke, and obviously he's out of work and he's trying to recover. It's $20 if you want to paint. You have to RSVP, so you'd have to just look this up on Facebook. But if you just want to donate, hey, I want to donate you $20, $5, whatever. PayPal.me/Barking Dog Farm is Leslie's nonprofit that she does a animal rescue or dog rescue, similar to the Wags and Wiggles in Newport, which used to be a part of that. So you can do it that way. And at the end of the show, I have a slide that will have the information. But if you go on Croydon's community page, you'll see this too. And like I said, you can just click on the link if you want to, whatever, $5, $10 on it, whatever you guys want to do. So, yeah, he was a firefighter in town. I've known her for years. Hardworking people. She used to work for and I don't know if she still does. I think she does, though. Used to work for the liquor store for years. She worked at the Newport one. I don't know where she went after that, because obviously Newport closed. But and Mike Sars worked for like small engine repair places and stuff like that. And he was the chief of the fire department for I think a year or two, and he was on the fire department with me and stuff. So good people. Farmers market tomorrow, 3 to 6 on the Common. Get there soon, because that'll be wrapping up beginning of next month, I think.
Yeah, it's got to be, because most of my stuff is dying back.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then on the 25th, so next Sunday, between 11 and 2, weather permitting, so you never know what the weather will be. However, the high school spirit team is going to be doing a car wash at Circle K, Irvin there, right down on the lights. It's usually donation-based or whatever, so show up, have them wash your car, give them a couple bucks, and support the spirit team. All right, here's my meme of the day. Should be my meme every freaking day. China should not be allowed to own 1 acre of American farmland. Also, China should not be allowed to own 1 acre of any land, farmland or otherwise, unless it's an embassy, which I understand. We have embassies everywhere. They have, So. Yeah. Couple things. Here's if there was a funny story of the day, this would be my funny story of the day. Ron DeSantis sends 2 planes of illegal aliens to Martha's Vineyard.
See, I understand the motivation behind it, but wouldn't it be better just to send them back home? You know what I mean? Because now
I would accept
Mass
2.
is going to have to deal with that, which I get also is
That's a rich little...
Like, it's a double-edged sword for me, right? On one side, you're accomplishing the mission because now you're throwing it to the liberals who have...
These rich a-holes.
Communities that are like, oh, just they're looking for a better chance.
Right.
You know.
I'd drop him right off Pelosi's friggin' house. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think this is funny.
I mean, it's funny, but it's also
It's sending a message, though.
it's sending a message, but it's also putting those individuals deeper into the U.S.
But at the same time, he could send them back home, and it'd be as useless anyways, because before the plane landed, he'd have more than 2 plane loads running back across the border. So this is only, I think, in his mind, that means to an end. Okay, we'll just start sending them places that really are in liberals' backyards, of these people that run in the country, to send a message that this needs to stop. And
Yeah, well, D.C.'s mayor wanted to
DC,
call in the
Chicago,
National Guard and
Yeah.
everything else.
Chicago
I mean,
flipped out. Oh, Mayor Lightfoot, oh my God, what do we do? Well, you want to be a sanctuary city. You said you accept them. Here they are. Now you want to be a border town? Be a border town.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it from that perspective, but I don't know. You just bring in more, voters deeper into potential voters.
No, did you see that Massachusetts, it took a lot of work, but because I think they needed 10,000 signatures or something. So, remember we had a story back this spring, I think it was, where Massachusetts said, we're going to give illegals licenses. And the governor, who I'm not a fan of whatsoever, who's not running for re-election, which is awesome, but vetoed it. It's like, no, they shouldn't get them. Well, obviously, Massachusetts is heavily Democrat ran. They overrode his veto and said, no, we're going to give illegals licenses. So then people started a petition and got enough signatures. They got like 82,000 of them or something like that. So it'll be on the ballot in November, which I'm quite sure will be basically shut down as in, no, we do not want to give you illegals. Because if you give an illegal a driver's license, they can now vote, because all you need is an ID to vote. So, good on some people in Massachusetts. I never understood Massachusetts. I don't get Mass at all, because Massachusetts is very, very heavily working class people. A lot of the time, like when I've worked in machine shops in the past, and I go to Mass for they're a working state, But for some reason they always vote Democrat, and I don't get it. And I know it's union, and maybe that's a lot of it, because unions tend to go for Democrats because Democrats like to give away money. But I never understood it. Like hardworking, I don't know. We'll see what happens in November, I guess. There's a decent chance of a Republican governor in New York, I guess, which would be I'd be very dumbfounded if somehow that happened. But the lady there is a freaking nut job, so I can't say she's worse than Cuomo, because he's allegedly.
I mean, I don't know. I can't say it enough. Established, been in politics for a while, people are beholden.
Yeah.
It's just like the report that one of our Senate candidates, most of their funding comes from out of state.
Yeah. What's that tell you?
Yeah, it means that most of us are, number one, don't donate.
Right.
Number two, her loyalties are going to lie outside of the state, because nothing is free.
They're going to dump so much money into that, I'm telling you. Hassan.
I don't know.
Not so much. I don't think so much on the congressional seats, but I definitely think Senate, because there's only 2 of them in the state. Obviously one's up for election, but there's more power in the Senate, I think, than the House, because of the numbers.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to follow and watch.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
see how they answer questions. I mean,
Pappas and Custer have been the biggest joke. Is freaking. I mean, not as big of a joke, I guess, as Sununu, I guess, but.
No, I mean, Sununu won handily.
80%. But I think the message is getting
I
there.
don't understand. The guy he didn't uphold his end of the bargain with the majority of the elected Republicans that said, we'll fund this, and you're going to end the state of emergency or whatever. It involved the state of emergency powers. I have to look it back up. But he went back on his word. So he's a liar.
Yeah.
That's a big lie.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to give up power.
It's not a white lie.
Nope.
That's not like, oh, you're looking good today.
What are you saying?
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
No, I get it. 100%. I mean, still 20% of the Republicans that voted, because in the turnout, at least, that wasn't great, which it's primary, so I get it in a way. But, I mean, he only got 80%.
Yeah, it's the same as it was whenever I joined the Republican Party for a day a couple years ago and voted for Testerman.
Yep.
The same thing, 10% is what she got last time.
Yeah, that's what we got this time.
So he's not getting the message.
It's interesting that Chuck Morris got as many as he did, because I really think Don Bullock would blow him out of the water, because, first of all, Don's been on the campaign trail all year, and Chuck Morris hasn't.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I don't know. Maybe I read too much negative stuff about everything. You know what I mean? Like, I always end up finding the bad stuff. Because, it's nice when there's good things, but you know what I mean? I don't know. I just was not impressed with him. Not really impressed with anybody.
No. Yeah. So, I'm going to just jump to the story real quick, because it goes to the whole DeSantis thing in a way. So, a 15-year-old girl overdoses on fentanyl and dies on a bathroom floor in a high school in Hollywood. 3 other students hospitalized.
On fentanyl?
Fentanyl, which is the biggest drug coming through the border. I don't know. It's just effed up.
There's so many people dying from fentanyl.
100,000 people died last year of drug overdoses. 100,000 people in this country died. Yet, folks, we gotta get these electric cars out there. Can't charge them, but we're gonna get electric cars out there. Every one of these freaking people should be in jail.
Well, we know. The whole country knows, because even the polls that, I find suspect, all of them. I'm just suspect of them. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're all wrong or anything. I'm just suspect of polling. But 62 or 8% of the country says it's in the wrong direction.
62%, but 30%, same poll, I saw this yesterday, said that they believe the country's in the right direction. So 30% of you are on drugs or mentally ill. Or both.
So we no longer have a representative government.
No.
I mean, you always have polls like this, right? So a lot of it's driven, because some people are going to say no just because it's a Democrat, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be Republicans that say the country's in the wrong direction, because they usually break it down by Republican, Independent, and Democrat.
Right.
But the interesting thing is that the independents are also saying it's in the wrong.
Right.
So, Democrats, you're going to have some loyalty. It's the independents that generally make up the deciding factor.
You just have to look at what's happening. They literally weaponize the FBI against people for political purposes.
Yeah, it's like something out of a bad movie from the 50s looking at Cuba or...
Yes, it's Banana Republic. Like, seriously,
Soviet
look
Union
at
type
this.
stuff.
Can you seriously sit back and say, oh, that's okay? I don't care what you think. If you are a progressive, if you're a Republican, a Democrat, whatever. How can you seriously look back and just stand back and be like, well, I think it's okay? I just seize Mike Lindells' phone because...
Well, it's interesting about that is because they all claim that that's what Trump was going to do, right? That you got to take all these powers away.
Right.
Everything
yes.
they accuse Trump of doing, Biden is now doing.
Yes.
So he is now weaponizing and
DOJ
attacking
and the FBI.
People for their political views. Yeah. He's going after a president and second-guessing what he determined to make, to declassify, because allegedly he has the ultimate...
Yeah.
authority to say, that's no longer a secret or top secret.
Right.
And the problem is you have the bureaucrats that don't like that. I mentioned it before. It's like in the military, you go and you work with civilians. The civilians, if they don't like your style or your plans to regroup and reorganize, will resist you for all 3 years because you're leaving in 2 to 3 years. So all they got to do is put up with you. And so you got an outsider coming in. It's like, I don't like that. And they're like, well, no, you don't understand how the world works. He's like, I don't care how the world works. This is how I want it. And they're like, well, we got to stop you now because I am the expert on this, and you got to do what I say because the last 3 presidencies have all listened to what I said. That's the big difference. If anybody hasn't figured it out yet, is Trump was like, I don't care. You know what I mean? He's
I
like,
don't care who you are. This was happening.
Like, I'm in charge. Like a former president said, elections have consequences, and the consequence is the president is at the top and gets to decide certain things, and that's why the military has a check and balance with a non-military person like the president.
Right.
Because if the president says, I don't care, launch it, you're supposed to launch it. Or not launch it. Yeah. Or redact it or not redact it. You know what I mean? Like, it goes all the way from the highest of military decisions down to, now they have executive power where they can just write all these orders out and they can just cancel laws or whatever. And we've allowed it to happen as a society, and it didn't just start under Trump or Obama. It happened before then.
Complete bullshit. Complete.
So anyway, that to me, if I were to, 2.5, 3 years after his presidency, 2.5 years, is that he faced the resistance of people who think they know better, and maybe sometimes they do know better. But elections have consequences, and so right now we're living with the consequences of this last election, and our pocketbooks, our bank accounts show for it.
Yeah. Another story of Trump derangement syndrome. Reporter tries to blame Trump for a Las Vegas Democrat that allegedly stabbed the journalist to death. I've heard quite a bit.
Trump's fault.
Yeah, it's Trump's fault. So this lady tries to come out and say, well, to the sheriff who was talking about this, not to make it political, but would you blame this on Trump for his, attacks towards reporters or whatever, his, violence or, whatever they like to use.
Vitriol or
whatever. And he's like, well, why are you making this political then? Because you just said it was, and no, this Democrat, and if you look at any story nationally, whatever, they take that part out, or they say he was registered or whatever, because they don't want you to know he was a Democrat. But he brutally stabbed and murdered a 69-year-old reporter because of the stuff he was posting about him. Or printing about him he didn't like, because he was a corrupt politician who was a Democrat. And
and it's not just Democrats that are corrupt, by the way.
No.
We say this all the time, but I want to make sure everybody understands. And I am truly an independent, undeclared. I lean more on the you don't get something for nothing.
No, and I said this how many times?
You work hard.
I don't like any of them.
Sometimes you need to pick me up because everybody falls on hard times, but you work hard.
The thing is,
I don't work hard, so you can have half my paycheck to go do what you want.
Oh, sweet.
It's not fair.
It's just not even, I don't know. Yeah.
It's not fair to,
It's not even about fairness.
It's not fair to shut down our natural resources capacity so that now you and I are paying twice our electricity bill.
Right, twice the electricity
triple
bill.
The oil,
yes.
Depending on what the price is on any given day.
All because this is what they did. This is what the power to be the government that's in charge right now, who are all Democrats, this is what they did. They created the situation you're in right now and blame it on everybody else. They made the situation 100%.
Well, I also see that's where I differ, because I kind of blame Trump too, because I understand that he wouldn't have been able to just squash this whole fear factory that we've lived in for the last 3 years.
Right.
But he could have squashed. I mean, he said, "Don't let the solution be worse than the cure." He kept warning or whatever. But you're the president. Why couldn't you say, "All right, enough of this. The 10 days are over. Whatever."
Can you imagine what would have happened though? The media would, because the media just does what they want.
Well, yeah, the media is...
The media's the issue. The virus in the country is the media. Because it's this one media outlet. It's government news, just like freaking Al Qaeda has or whatever.
I like watching those things where they send out their news stories nationwide and then
watch how it changes.
Collect them. Well, no, like they collect them and you can take somebody in Knoxville, Tennessee, and somebody in wherever, California, and somebody in Michigan, and they're reading the exact same script and they're acting like trust them. Yeah. They're your most trusted name in news, and they're all saying the same thing. It's like,
and the fact that
those videos are out there, like I don't know, they could be made up, but they don't look like it to me.
If you're a news network and you have to be like, listen, we're the most trusted or whatever, that's an automatic red flag for me. Like, you have to trust us. Like, okay, so what are you just trying to put this message into my head that I need to trust you because?
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't trust you.
Well, you're going to be getting a knock on your door here in the next few days.
Knock all you want. I'll tell the FBI the same thing I said on the show. You can kiss my white ass, get off my property unless you have a warrant.
Why's it got to be your white ass? Why can't it just be your rear end?
Kiss my American-loving ass. Is that better?
Yeah. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. It's early. Well, now it's 8:30.
I know.
Been doing this for a little while.
Let's just go through these two other stories so that way they're done. Visa, MasterCard, American Express making it easier to track gun sales. So
and that goes all the way back to a foreign influence, right? That's because I don't know if it's through the UN or some NGO based out of Europe. So because the government can't do this, they're having corporations do it so that they can track you.
Right. Give and
take.
take.
They can publish your name. So
exactly.
I don't know why. Like, you can publish my name if I own any weapons that you know of.
Listen, here's the deal, guys and gals. Tell these credit card companies to F themselves. Get rid of your credit cards. And don't. And if you have to have your credit card, because some people, like, I get it. Okay, keep your credit card, but don't buy a gun with your credit card. Go buy it cash. They accept cash.
For now.
Yeah. Yeah. Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Go fuck yourself. In my last story, which, you think this would be an FBI.
Well, there goes your line of credit.
I got divorced 5 years before.
I've been out with you. Do you only use cash?
Usually $100 bills, too. Not lately.
For anybody out there looking to rob somebody.
I ain't got jack shit on me right now, man. All my money goes to the friggin' house and a slab, and the rain's freaking effed up my form, too. I have to go and, fix things. Another story out of Florida. Apparently Florida is the only state that actually does anything for, crime-related things like this. Disney employee, corrections officer, don't get this. This is not a list of good things, just so you know. So there was a Disney employee, a corrections officer, a deputy police chief, teachers, plural, among 160 arrested in Florida during an undercover operation targeting human trafficking. Don't let that make you lose your faith in Disney. Every time they do this, there's Disney employees involved. Every time.
That's a big employer there.
Corrections officer, deputy police chief.
This just proves that in every facet, there are people that make bad decisions and illegal decisions and are bad people.
Yes.
So,
but on the bright
you're not
side
going
of
to
the story,
disparage all teachers or all
absolutely
police
not.
chiefs.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
So not all Disney.
No, but what they should do is this, especially this deputy police chief and corrections officer, these two really, because I just know how sometimes absolute power corrupts, right?
Yep.
So, the corrections officer is like, you're a criminal, F you, and I'm, seen it myself, seen it. They should throw the book at these two the hardest. And then, yeah. But on a good note, 160 people are taken off the street. And hopefully,
Did they
Wow.
were they held on bail, or was it a bail-free zone down there? And
in most states, they would just be back out to traffic people. But maybe in Florida, they're there still. Huh. It's funny. I wonder how Florida did this. Like, maybe Florida should reach out to the FBI and be like, hey, so the Epstein thing, would you like us to help you?
well, that's the thing. That's what I was just about to say. So we have FBI agents scrolling through your Facebook messages. You have FBI agents going through the pillow guy's phone.
Stopping you at a drive-thru at Hardee's. Take
Yeah.
your phone.
You got all these people coming to average Joe's houses across the country, and yet we don't know who all is on the client list of somebody who was deeply connected at the largest. Like, it's not like this was 160 people and because that's probably like considered a small time bust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sad. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So why aren't we going after all of the list and then canceling that part of society that they all belong to?
Because you'd cancel out all the people in charge. Hello.
That's fine.
I know. I agree.
I'm from the
That's
old
why
school.
it's not happening.
If you have a basic education, you can go and perform any job in the federal government. That's how it should be. If you can pass high school, you should be able to go and work for the government. Because number one, there shouldn't be that many positions available. Like, our government's way bloated. But if you can read and you can comprehend, but I'm talking old school standards.
Listen, all I know is they're going to take, and they're hiring 87,000 IRS agents armed that aren't cops to audit you. But someone did call in to a show the other day and said, well, let me ask you, though, they're going to hire 87,000, right? Good luck, because every freaking position in the government, every branch is looking for people desperately because no one wants to work. Good luck finding those amount of people. Good luck finding anybody. An armed IRS agent.
I mean, look, I'm all about it. I understand you got to feed your family and everything else, but who aspires to be a tax collector? Because that's all IRS agent is a tax collector. The tax collector is always on the wrong side of every fairy tale and every story we've ever told.
They need
in
to,
time.
in January.
Like, I would not do that. Like, I'm sure it's probably pretty good pay, too.
Probably. They need to abolish the FBI. They need to abolish the IRS. Simple.
Department of Education. I mean, they need to.
Yeah.
I'm all about small government.
That's how it's supposed to be. That's how the country was founded. That's exactly how it's
if you
written.
if you read through all the warning letters and
Yeah.
it's all about
Today.
don't let the government get too bloated or it will consume you.
Yeah. Everything today. It shouldn't even exist.
Yeah. Well, those men that wrote the Constitution studied history and studied all kinds of forms of governance. And
It just went through
They
the
didn't just
monarchy and all that
willy-nilly.
crap.
Yeah, they
Yes.
didn't willy-nilly throw this together. I mean, I'll give them some credit. Maybe somebody can come in here and give me a revisionist piece of history. But as far as what I learned with my, I thought I had a pretty decent education in high school and in college. It's crazy.
But Steve, some of them own slaves. So that discredits everything.
Yeah, but everybody in history,
Own slaves?
yeah, like not
Everyone.
everybody, but like however you want to divide up society, whether it's by race, religion, whatever, they've all had slaves.
This country was built on Irish immigrants. So you could say they weren't slaves.
Yeah, they were.
They were freaking
indentured servants,
slaves.
right? They had to work for so many years.
Yeah. Irish.
Then they could buy.
White Irish.
No, I mean, we use kid labor. My granny was picking cotton when she was like 5 years old in Oklahoma or North Texas somewhere. Like, as a 5-year-old out in the fields picking cotton all day long.
All right, not to say the obvious, but she was white.
Yeah.
So white people pick cotton too.
Yeah. My 5-year-old grandmother did. Lived through the Dust Bowl.
Because back then
Toughest
they actually
woman
had to work.
toughest woman I ever met.
Yeah, because they actually had to work. They actually had to do things.
She raised 4 kids
My grandfather was
on
on
her own in the 50s and 60s.
My grandpa was on his own since he was 11 years old. He was born in 1918, 14. Yeah, he's since passed back early 2000. But Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So we all have stories of our ancestors working hard and being whatever. It should be looked at as a shared trait of like, yeah, we've all suffered and, unfortunately,
We're here today.
but we're here today.
Make it better.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
stop living in the past and move to the future. And
And if you're living off welfare right now, you're living off the government, you're a slave right now. So
yeah.
you are.
Yeah,
And
because, think
slave
about how
to them.
easy it'll be for them to say, oh,
Checks done.
yeah, like, oh, you're waiting on your WIC or, well, I don't know, whatever they call it now. But you posted
Food
something on
stamps and that
Facebook
stuff. Yeah.
that we don't really approve of, so we're going to hold off that payment until you delete that and you make up for it with a proper posting. Now, it's a slippery slope, but I mean, that's pretty much what that
You might as well
goes
just
on in
stop
China.
saying the slippery slope part, because if you wanted to back up 5 years to today,
You never would have thought we'd be this far down into.
yeah, no, the slippery slope's not even a slippery slope anymore. It's
You
just where the
slipped on
hell
the
we
banana
are.
pill and we're going
This is
down
where
the
we
hill.
are right now. This is where we are. The FBI is going after freaking mom and dad PTO members.
You got corporations tracking your weapons purchases to probably freely hand over, just like Facebook did, allegedly, according to the New York Post, right? So they give up your private communications, which you think are private, and they have either an AI or a crew of people that must flag it, and then they redact it and send it over. Same thing I can imagine with the weapons purchases. Because you've seen the videos where ATF agents show up to try to inspect your weapons. Like, off my property, dude. Where's your warrant?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just crazy. People have forgotten the basic of the Constitution, the basic foundations and freedoms and that we're guaranteed by our Creator,
Yeah.
not by the government.
Now they're going after Supreme Court Justice's wife.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, they're going after Thomas's wife because
Maybe I did read that last week. I think I know what you're talking about.
yep, because
It's all a bunch of political hit jobs. I'll be coming after you, me, next, if they're not already.
we're not big enough.
Yeah, we all.
But then again, the lady that had the FBI show up at her house wasn't really that big either.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you never know. I hope not. I mean, we haven't done anything crazy. We're just talking about our
Bring
basic freedoms provided in that book right there.
Bring it on. Stanley.
Give ourselves too much credit. No one's watching this.
Whatever.
Like, from that aspect, we have our loyal viewers, listeners, but
yeah.
until you go viral with something crazy, Timothy.
Once again, I'm Steve Morris, and I approve this message. Kidding. What was I going to say? Yeah, anyways.
So this is going to be our last show for the week.
Yeah, last show for the week, because I'm getting married Saturday, and
Congratulations.
thank you. But I was thinking, though, because we're coming to your house to get dressed, we should have fun with all the guys, and we'll, sit them down, interview them or something.
Yeah, we could
I think that'd be fun. We won't have a ton of time because we get here at 1, and we have to be, that starts at 3. So girls are getting here at 10.
Well, we don't need to be out here by 10.
Probably.
Just sitting here.
Might want to eat first, because we probably won't be provided any food.
I got to do the brisket.
Don't mess it. I got to do pulled pork.
So what time are we eating the brisket? 4 o'clock? So if everybody's getting here at 1 o'clock,
Listen,
10 o'clock, I'm trying to backwards plan it. So
All right,
I need to
'cause you're-
start cooking it probably tomorrow at
yes,
6 p.m. or something.
yes, because the brisket needs to be done before 1 o'clock, because you're in the wedding and you're we're going to be here. Yes. We, Steve, this could actually work out. So plan that brisket to be done at 10 so that it sits for a couple hours. And we'll just eat the brisket while we're up here.
Not share it with anyone else.
Yes.
I think Nikki ordered the biggest one they have. So I don't know.
All right, so
Probably
bring a little brisket up here.
Like an 18-pounder, excuse me. Burger.
Hell, just enough for me and you. I don't care. The rest
I can
of the
do
guys. That'd be fine. All right. Perfect.
Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
I've been talking about y'all as if y'all have been married anyway, so.
Yeah, it feels it. No,
Makes
I
it
just,
official.
it's, the sucky thing is I'm like excited for it to be over because we have so much going on, and it's unfortunate because normally you wouldn't be trying to build a house, like you just wouldn't do all this at the same time, right? So this year, your wedding would be the big thing, and you'd focus on that. And so literally, I might just say all this now, so that way if I forget later on, I can go back and say, hey, listen, I said this. But Andrea's done like everything, 100%. She's made everything. She's like hemmed the dress. She's everything, every freaking thing. She's done it all. She's like, well, I feel bad because I'm not helping you at the land, and I'm like, I mean, I feel bad because I'm not helping you with a wedding. Like, she's literally done, all of it. And she even dragged me Tuesday night to dance lessons, which I have again tonight. And
I won't be allowed to dance.
no,
Well, remember the Halloween thing last year? Nikki put baby in a corner.
that's funny. That was
You don't
fun
remember
time.
that?
Yeah, I remember.
She wouldn't dance with me. She was embarrassed of my snapping moves.
Yeah, you guys gotta do that at the wedding. That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, I'll get out there and snap. She won't dance with me, though. Nikki's got moves. Especially now she's got her hip replaced. She can probably dance again. I, on the other hand, have no rhythm. But anyway, you were giving flowering reviews of Andrea's work while you've been playing on your dump trucks.
Yeah.
Your Tonka toys out at the land.
No playing.
I know, but if you look at it like that, it's,
I know. Sometimes it's like, listen, this is not a bad deal, right? But it's tough because I'm overwhelmed by so much that I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be stressed, right? I should be like, this is a positive thing. This is good. And it is. But it's hard to... I'd be a little less stressed, too, once the freaking concrete for the garage is done. Because every day it sits there, I worry, like, okay, because it washed some areas out pretty good. I'm going to have to freaking fix. Which already has a rebar in it, so it's just a pain in the ass. Like, ugh. But, and I'm still waiting to hear back from... So it looks like we're going to move that freaking place ourselves because the guy still hasn't come back to us. And I'm already like, do I hook it to the dump truck?
the second you do that, he's going to write you. The second you rip the thing in half or something. You know that, right?
Yeah, I won't rip it in half. That's good. Perfect.
Knock on some wood.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Apparently
I mean,
not
he didn't
freaking
say,
do
like,
it.
I'm not interested in making money off of you, right? And he said he would write you as soon as he got back.
Yeah. But he didn't say he was out of town.
Have you written him back since then?
Yeah, Andrew's messaged him a bunch of times. He just hasn't messaged back.
No, that's
I don't have any more time for this. It has to go. It has to be there together. I have to start working. I cannot wait for this dude for another freaking week. It was bad enough having to wait a week for the concrete to cure, which, as of yesterday, was perfectly fine, could be put on there. So it's like, I don't have time for this anymore. It's almost October. Well, it's the middle of the month, but still, like, it's TikTok.
Putting some pressure and stress on you. Yeah, well, you were saying that normally you would do one thing, so unfortunately, I've had deaths in the family in the last
Yeah, it's been a rough
6,
year.
12 months. It's been rough. You're moving, getting married, babies too, so that's the first reason why I'll put it off is after she was born, but you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
New career. Sitting here pontificating about nothingness of being
Yeah.
That's from the ref.
Well, I think I
Pontificating
haven't
on
even talked to
nothingness of
him,
being.
but I'll thank Twin State Paving for sponsoring the show. I don't know if they're willing to sponsor this month or not, but whatever.
I mean they've been good to us, so even if it's free advertising for them if they're not.
Yeah,
Twin State Paving.
definitely reach out to them. They're the ones I'd have pave anything, whether they sponsor the show or not. Same story. I've always used them, and Olin would use them. They're hardworking people, so yeah. All right. So we'll see you Monday. I'll be a married man. I have to start wearing a ring. You don't have to wear a ring.
Well, the whole me and Nikki ring situation goes back to. I mean, I've had one of the wedding rings that's in the house was blessed by the Pope, but I'm not Catholic. However, the first ring that I had, it was 7 years ago. I went golfing, and I haven't been able to find it. I think somebody might have swiped it off my desk, because I was getting ready at work. So it could have been, or I could have knocked it into the garbage can, not to blame anybody else for it. It's my own mistake. And so ever since I've misplaced it, I felt bad because that was the ring that I originally got married with. And then Nikki, being a nurse practitioner, can't really wear hers. I mean, I guess she could, but she's putting on gloves, so she can't really wear hers. So she has different. She has like a different ring that she wears sometimes, but that doesn't mean we don't love each other.
It's all good. I just have to get used to wearing a ring again.
Well, that's the other thing. So I have like a rubber one from when I was in Hawaii. If you go swim in the ocean, and I have the one that's blessed by the Pope, but it agitates my finger because it's like it's not the one that's blessed by the Pope. I think it's a different metal. It's not gold like my original. So I'm holding out hope that maybe the gold one's somewhere in my golf bag. That like maybe there's a hole in a pocket and it fell down and it's inside somewhere. 6
years and you haven't looked yet?
I like a good Easter egg hunt, Timothy.
Dude, if I lost my ring, I would be panicking.
I panicked that when it happened, but now that I'm displaced from it and I've replayed it in my head, it might be in my golf bag somewhere.
So Andrea will take her engagement ring off
when we get off this show.
Yeah,
I will go look for it in the golf bag. And if I find it, I'll let everybody know, and I'll wear it gladly day in and day out and won't ever take it off again unless I play golf.
So the funny thing is, Andrea will take her engagement ring off if she puts lotion on or if she's like playing with hammer or something, So she does it often, and I always worry she can lose it. So sometimes I'll mess with her and I'll take it. And
that's not good.
No, and I don't do it for very long because it really does bother her. Like you can see, and I'm like, well, I don't want to be that mean. So I was like, no, I got it right here. But it's funny.
It's funny to torture her.
It's funny to torture her, yes. But all right, guys, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you on Monday. Thanks for watching.